Welcome back. In the last video, we gave the Ranchero some love, did some work on the back. I kind of introduced Old Red to you. I'm going to change the name of Old Red to Alfred. And there's a reason behind that, and that is the gentleman that owned the truck before me, his name was Alfred. It's got red in the name, and I think it works. Alfred seems to carry some character. This truck has some character. But today we're going to be showing the square body some love. Surprisingly, it runs pretty decent. And as you can tell, it's still hot as Hades here in the Midwest. So I'll get into a little bit of the story behind this truck. I do know that it has sat for approximately 15 years. The gentleman that owned it, he drove it every day up until he couldn't drive anymore. First thing I want to do, I did get it running. It was actually fairly easy to get it running. Drained the fuel, put new fuel in it, primed it, got it going, and it was actually running just fine. So I did an oil change on it, ended up having to put a starter on it. And now it's plated, registered, insured, and it's ready to be driven. However, those tires have not been changed in who knows how long. And the brakes, when I initially tried to make the maiden voyage in this, the front brake caliper on the right side was grabbing and actually getting hot and smoking. So one thing that I have learned trying to find parts for this before actually tearing into it is there are several different brake codes that came on these trucks, and I don't know which one is on this particular truck. It is a 305 4-speed manual, and obviously it's a half ton. So first step, I'm going to pull the tires wheels off. I'll take the wheels in to get the new tires put on, but I'm also going to be working on the brakes, and I want to get the old fluid out, get new fluid in. I'm going to go ahead and get the tires and wheels off, and then we'll come back. As you can see, we got her up on the exam table, got the tires and wheels off. I'll show you the condition of the brakes as they sit on this side. The other side I've already taken apart. Rotors, they've probably seen better days, but there's still plenty of pad left. Kind of see what we're working with here on the back. So earlier I had mentioned I didn't know what brakes were on here. So the options are a 2 3/4 inch brake pad on the rear, and so 2 inch and 2 3/4 inch, and these are 2 3/4 inch. You can see there's quite a bit of pad left on here. So I'm thinking that he had done service to the brakes shortly before it was parked. For the age and for how long it was parked, this truck looks pretty good. And up here, wheel bearings looked like they were in good shape. You can see all the grease buildup. I got the dust shield off. I do plan to clean it up real good, get it painted, get all this junk off of here. At this stage, the struggle is real to not order drop spindles and lowered coils, because I think at one point I will lower this, but for now I just need to get it running and driving so that I can enjoy it. I did drain all of the brake fluid, clean the reservoir out a little bit. As you can see behind me, it is officially Christmas in August. We have our tires that just came in. These came from Priority Tire. It's a company that I like to use. I've used them I think 3 or 4 times now. And then we have parts from RockAuto, none of which have been sponsored. However, I'm open to that sponsorship. But I'm gonna go ahead and load up the new tires, the old tires and wheels, and I'm gonna get those over and get those switched over. I just got back from taking those tires to a local tire shop to get them mounted and balanced. They actually told me they should be done tonight. So since I'm not going to have a lot of time to get deep into something, we're going to go ahead and open these boxes right here. Earlier I mentioned RockAuto and Priority Tire, and I'm not sponsored by them. These are all things I paid for, but those two companies are companies that I go to. Tires are ridiculously expensive these days. With RockAuto, if you have time to wait, you can usually get the best price through them. You do pay shipping on top of their prices, but even after shipping, their prices are really good, and you're more than likely going to save a significant amount of money. So that's why I usually go with them. So I'll stop yapping. We'll go ahead and jump in and see what's in these boxes. Okay, we got some calipers, I believe. Got some brake pads. Got some brake hoses. Spark plug wires. Spark plugs. We have some new shoes to put on. And then we're going to take these crusty brakes. We are going to make them look like this and this. Since we got brand new brake calipers and we don't want them getting rusty like the old ones, we're going to go ahead and clean them off with brake clean. Then we will put on some POR brake caliper paint, and this is a brush on. It's the way I prefer to do it. I'm just going to clean these off, and once this dries I'll come back and we'll brush this on. We're going to go ahead and get started here. We've already done the brake clean, let it dry, turn them back over, and now we're just going to put on some paint. Probably should move this off the concrete, but I like to live dangerously. I'm going to try to be careful not to get the piston here, and now that I'm trying to make sure these are as secure as possible. So we're going to go ahead and start coating. I really want to get this inside section here in the bottom, and then once it's flipped over we'll worry about all the other stuff. I usually use a 1/2 inch brush, not a 1 inch. I also don't want to put a whole lot of paint on any mating surfaces, so I'll try to be aware of that. This stuff, a little bit goes a long way. This is a self-leveling paint. You don't have to worry too much about the brush strokes. So you can see from this angle what the difference is. We'll come back once I get these flipped over and we're putting paint on the top side. Well, we ran out of daylight last night while we were in the middle of painting these calipers, so we're going to take a quick look at them and see where I left off, and then we'll pick back up. Today we're going to finish up the outside. I mentioned that I normally use a 1/2 inch brush, and then last night I was using these because that's all I could find. But this is what I prefer. You know, the calipers aren't very big, and with the 1/2 inch brush, it's just a little easier to pay attention to what I'm doing. We're gonna get back to it. Pretty sure I've made several videos on this, so I can link that in the description if you want to see something a little more detailed. So for now, it looks like we're in pretty good shape. I will be doing a second coat on the outer portion just so that we're better protected and have a solid finish. It's time to get busy. We've got to get the brakes done on this truck. On the other side, when I showed up to the brake drum, I was expecting a fight. So I brought this 4-pound sledge. I walked up to it and I went like that, and it came right off. All right, for now, I'm going to show you what I did to get the drum cleaned up and painted. I'll be using an assortment of wire wheels. Kind of hard to see here, but you got wire wheel like this, wire wheel like this, and then also a wire wheel like this. So now I'm going to spray this down with brake clean. And we're also going to go ahead and spray this down with brake clean as well. And these rear pads are in good shape. Probably not going to mess with these, but while we're here, I think I need to adjust these in a little bit so that once we're done painting that drum, it'll fit right back on there. So what I'm going to be using to paint this is a caliper paint by POR 15 and just a cheap throwaway chip brush. I'll have a link in the description for both of these items, but these can be bought in like a 50 pack, relatively cheap. I'm going to do a time lapse. It's pretty simple. Pop the top, dip, brush. Here you can see we've got the rear drum painted up. It's going to dry. So we're going to turn our attention to the front, and right now we're just going to get this disassembled. And to get that started, we need to remove the caliper, which is going to be a 3/8 hex bolt. The caliper is sitting in there pretty secure. I'm going to go ahead and remove the rotor. Need to get this dust cap off. And then we will remove the cotter pin and the bolt behind here to get that off. Probably one of the most versatile tools I have is a cotter pin extractor. Been buying these from Snap-on for many years. This is what they're intended for, pulling a cotter pin out like that. But I've used these for so many different things. We're at the point where we can take this nut off and remove the rotor. We are going to have the inner and the outer wheel bearing. And I'm going to show you how to repack those with a pretty cool little tool. As long as this is the same size as the other side, this is going to be 1 inch and 1/16. Fits on there good. So here's a washer. We've got the outer wheel bearing wanting to come out. It's just right there saying, hey, come get me. So there's that. Rotor is free. We'll pull it off. To get the inner wheel bearing out, we have to remove a seal right here. And to have a seal remover tool, I probably should have purchased a new seal, but on the other side I did not. I also did not order new wheel bearings, but I did repack them and I think they are in good shape. This seal will clean it up, and to be honest with you, I probably should buy a new seal, just because it looks like it's possible that that grease has gotten past this area here. But for now, we're just worried about getting this wheel bearing out. And this grease looks kind of rough. Here shortly, we're going to go ahead and repack these, and hopefully we're in good shape. So I'm just going to set that here for now. We've got this out of the way. I'm going to clean off the spindle. We're going to get this dust shield off, and we're going to start to clean this area. Now that we have everything out of the way, I will remove this dust shield. On the other side, I took it off, I cleaned it up real good, and I painted it. All right, well, we need to clean this up. I can scrape it off a little bit with just a scraper here, and we can get a lot of that off, but I'm gonna wait until tomorrow. I'm gonna use the wire wheel and we'll knock all that off, but just kind of wanted to show you what we've got. Like, this stuff comes off pretty easy for the most part. And what we're dealing with is like here and here and there where it's kind of shiny. Hopefully you can see that back there on the pitman or the idler arm for the steering. It's super wet, and that's because the boots are all in bad shape. We will be at some point changing tie rod ends, ball joints upper and lower, and all the other fixings, if you will. Right now, I just want to get this cleaned up. This video is really just to get this vehicle back on the road, and I was just going to do the brakes and tires because it was performing very well without doing anything additional. I'm just going to clean this up, and then I'll show you how I'm making this look like the other side and make it presentable. Here we are, it's a new day. Last night where I left off, I tore apart the front. Brakes here. I'm gonna go ahead and take this dust shield and treat it with some wire wheel. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then this brake drum is dry. So as soon as I get this cleaned up, I'm gonna get it under first coat of paint, and then we'll put this on. Well, I have reconditioned this dust shield. I'm going to be spray painting it with this Rust-Oleum Canyon Black. This is a new favorite of mine. This is a satin finish by Rust-Oleum. It's really nice out. I'm going to go ahead and shoot this outside. It is time to put the drum on. It does drag just a little bit, but it's nothing terrible. I'm going to touch up all this area with some that black spray paint, and also going to hit this here. Yeah, so you might be able to see the bolt that's going into the caliper right there. If not, it's just the banjo bolt that's going into the caliper, and I'm going to remove it. Probably going to get some brake fluid coming out of the brake hose. So what we've got is fluid coming out of the caliper, and we're going to clean this up with a wire wheel, wire brush, whatever it takes. Alright, well, neighbor just stopped by, and we slowed down on some work for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and get the dust shield back on. It's starting to get a little dark, so I'm going to be shutting the garage doors. I've got the bearings cleaned up, and it is time to repack them with grease. So what we're going to do is put the bearing down in here. This white piece here, it is coned, so it's going to center up the bearing. It's going to be pretty difficult for you to see this, I think. But what I'm going to do is push down on this, and we should see grease come up through. We want to push on it until we see the new grease coming all the way through. And you can see that that has pushed all of our new grease through, and this bearing should be good and packed. This one might be easier to see because of the diameter. And if anybody is watching this and they've done this, let me know if I'm doing this wrong. I'm gonna grab the rotor. We'll get this in the rotor, we'll get the seal back on, and then we can start putting this all back together. That bearing's in, and then we're gonna put the seal back on, and using a ball peen hammer, I'm just tapping this in, I'm not beating it in. This does two things. It seals the grease in so it won't come out, and it also helps retain that bearing. And before I put this on the spindle, I want to be ready to get the other bearing. So now we're just going to place this on the spindle. Hold that while I grab the other bearing. And we're going to put it on the correct way, not backwards. There we go. All right, we got a washer that goes on here. And then we have a nut. So I'm going to show you something that you may not have seen before, depending on your age. This is a Chilton's manual, very common for back in the day when people owned these vehicles. And this is a Haynes, which I am more familiar with. And one thing that I like about this is it tells us our torque specs. Okay, install washer and spindle nut, tighten nut only slightly, no more than 12 foot-pounds of torque. Here we have a torque wrench. This is a digital torque wrench, and I'm going to set it on probably 10 foot-pounds. All right, so we'll set this to 10 foot-pounds. We'll get this tightened, and then we'll go on to the next step. If you want to check out this, I do have a link in the description and a video where I use this, but this is a real world situation where we're using it. Install the washer and spindle nut no more than 12 foot-pounds. Spin the hub in a forward direction to seat the bearings and remove any grease or burrs which could cause excessive bearing play later. I don't have a lot of grease coming out. Check to see the tightness of the spindle nut is still approximately 12 foot-pounds. So here we're actually at 10. It says loosen the spindle nut until it is loose. Loosen the spindle nut until it is just loose, no more. Using your hand, not a wrench of any kind, tighten the nut until it is snug. Install a new cotter pin through the holes in the spindle and spindle nut. Okay, so it's saying loosen it. Do not use anything more than your hand to tighten it. And install the cotter pin. Alright, cotter pin's installed. We're going to wipe off this nose and then put the dust cap on. It is time to get the caliper on. Okay, well that actually went better than the last time. right, and if you remember in here, it also gave us some torque specs, and I believe one of the torque specs was for the caliper pin bolts. Caliper mounting bolt, 35 foot-pounds. So we're going to go back to this digital torque wrench and take it to 35 foot-pounds. Nice thing about this is it has the audible tone. So when you get where you're going, you don't have to be able to see it, just be able to hear it. And it also has lights too. I think you may have seen that. Now we need to put the banjo bolt and the crush washers into the caliper. Right here is where the brake line hooks up. There's a red cap inverted, and that is to keep junk out of the caliper during shipping and whatnot. And it also has our 2 crush washers on it. We know one needs to go here. That will be the one that goes through, just like that. Get this started. Trying to stay out of your way best I can. And then I'm going to look up the specs on the banjo bolt and the crush washers so we don't over tighten it. How much torque is necessary for crush washers on a brake caliper? The internet says it is 33 to 37 foot-pounds. I'm going to consult the old Chiltons and see if we can find that answer.
A few moments later.
Well, that didn't help. So, since I did get a value, I'm going to go ahead and just leave this torque wrench set on 35 foot-pounds. All right, so we're set there. When we come back, I'm gonna start bleeding brakes. One thing you can always plan on is your plan not going the way you wanted it to. So I was about to start bleeding the brakes, but once I tried to break the bleeder on the back of the wheel cylinder, that was no good. I ended up having to replace the wheel cylinders, which luckily came with the truck. The gentleman that had it before me, he was really always prepared. He actually had brand new brake pads, but these are in such good shape, I'm just going to keep them. And you can see I also changed out this adjuster. That was seized up. It's been 2 weeks since I started filming this video. I got the new tires on, I got the brakes done, and I ran into a problem with the brake hoses. So I finally got those switched out. So you can see the new hose here. I was struggling to get these disconnected inside the frame rail, but I got those done. I got that air conditioner installed. And here, I think earlier I mentioned that I had some brake lines from LMC, and if I didn't, I ended up purchasing a set of 4 brake lines from LMC truck. They are from the reservoir to the proportioning valve, and then from the proportioning valve to each of the brake hoses for the front. Here, you can see the proportioning valve, and I still have the lines to hook up to the reservoir. This was getting a little tedious, so I stopped recording, and in order to get to this proportioning valve, I took the fan shroud off, took the fan off. This is a 305 with a smog pump, so I just loosened that and shifted it all the way up so I could get to that brake line. Anyway, I'll come back once this is all buttoned up. I have finished running the lines. You can see here on the master cylinder we got the new lines running down to the proportioning valve. I've got the switch hooked up and the brakes are bled. So I'm going to go ahead and get the fan shroud and the fan in, make sure the belts are tight, and take it for a drive. I am losing daylight, so I will probably have to do the drive tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and get this all back together and we'll come right back. As promised, here's our maiden voyage after doing the brakes. Hopefully you stay there. The fixture is a little loose. There you go. Well, this is where you get out. Well, we made it to the gas station. Like I said, the camera fixture is a little loose, so I wasn't surprised when I dropped you. But we're gonna see if we can make it back home. As you can tell, I'm taking off in second because first is a granny gear. This is a 4-speed. I've driven a manual once or twice before. For a truck that's been parked as long as this has, and with as little as I put into it, it drives really well. It does need some updates on ball joints, the steering components, but all in all, it is where I want it to be. I want to be able to drive it in town, use it as a truck. At this point, I feel confident that I can do that. I still do want to do a tune-up. If you want to follow Alfred's journey, go ahead and subscribe. Let me know what you'd like to see in the future, and we'll see what we can do about that.